What's going on, nerds? It is the 4th of July. You know, nothing says 4th of July like fireworks and explosions. And today, we're going to be talking about the best explosions in video games. We got a great list curated by moi of what I personally think are the best explosions in any games ever. That said, if you disagree with me, you need to let me know down below because I think we're going to have some fun with this one. Let's get going with some of the best explosions in video games. I want to start this list off with some N64 goodness, and we're going to be starting off with GoldenEye 007. Now, GoldenEye 007 was probably the first multiplayer game for most, maybe even the first first-person shooter for most, but I mean, it had a great pedigree going for it, right? It's a very recognizable IP. It was made by Rare, and it kind of actually, in a way, sort of kind of had the actors from the movie, in a sense. Anyway, those who played this game know it was fun, but also they know when the explosions go down, so does the frame rate. That said, explosions happen a lot in this game, but for my list, the mines are the game changer. Maybe not for the better, but definitely needs to be brought up here. The mines were absolutely crazy. I mean, you throw these things off, proximity mines, they have the remote detonation mines, and the frame rate crawls to a single frame per second crawl, but I will say it is awesome. There's nothing like blowing up a whole room full of people or tanks or what have you with these mines, these explosions. Pretty much everything in this game blew up, but once again, this is just kind of my throw at it. I think out of all the stuff in 007, the mines really need to be brought up. But like I say, let me know what you think, because there's a good argument to have for the rocket launchers too, but something about these mines is a little bit crazy. But hey, you know what? With this game now being on Game Pass and on Nintendo Switch Online, you can easily check them out. So I definitely recommend checking it out for yourself. So the second one I want to bring up is going to be more general rather than a single game. I'm going to talk of an entire series, and we're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto. Now, in a game all about heists and fighting cops and slinging drugs and generally committing acts of violence and debauchery, you know the booms are going to be good. But we aren't talking about the bombs or the missiles. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the explosions from cars. Specifically, it's when these explosions get out of hand. You see, when you drive around all wild and crazy, eventually your car catches fire, and then you have a few seconds to get out and run before it blows up. I swear, I don't know if this is your experience or not, but mine, you never have enough time to really come out unscathed, but, you get the gist of it. That's not exactly what I'm talking about today, though. We'll be talking about when a car blows up and it starts the apocalyptic chain reaction that you literally have no chance to escape from. Sometimes you don't even have anything to do with it. I mean, you could have some car off in the distance caught fire, blows up, starts this chain reaction, no fault of your own, but it brings the chaos all the way back to you, and boom, you're done. Nothing you can do about it. In Grand Theft Auto, I swear, my first experience was, I have played the original on PC, but my first experience in this is pretty much in Grand Theft Auto 3. Something happens, someone shoots at the wrong thing, all of a sudden the whole city turns into a blaze. I don't know if this happened to you, but to me, these specific explosions obviously had to make the list. So the next game I want to bring up, this is kind of a no-brainer, but I mean, you can't talk explosions without talking Fallout. Fallout, I know, man. Big booms, mushroom clouds. Well, I mean, Fallout. There are no shortages of explosions and nuclear, fallout to pass around, but this game literally has a mini nuke. That's right. When the rocket launcher is not enough, when landmines are not enough, you get the gun that slings a small nuclear warhead that will definitely destroy any enemy or, honestly, group of enemies in one go. But what happens when that isn't enough? What happens when pressing the detonation switch on Megaton isn't enough and you need more? Well, that's where the experimental MIRV comes in. After a quick quest, you get this beast and it launches multiple That's right, multiple mini nukes at once. The only downside, I would say, is you expend a lot of mini nukes, which is a finite source of ammo. But I mean, come on, who does not want to use a nuclear shotgun? I mean, fire this thing upon the wasteland on anything that you don't want to ask the question of, hey, you need to stop. This is more of a telling them, hey, you're gonna stop. Now, this one has been around for a long, long time, but if we're talking video game explosions, we have to bring up the Final Fantasy series. Now, I know what you're thinking. When you bring up Final Fantasy and explosions, your first questions are probably gonna be like, well, which Final Fantasy are you talking about? Are we talking about the Giant of Babel blowing up the Earth? Are we talking about that like really big laser cannon thing from Final Fantasy VII? Are we talking about Bomb Mom from Final Fantasy IV? Well, I was going to give an example, but the example of what I'm thinking of for Final Fantasy actually spawns multiple games. And, it wouldn't be the 4th of July without the rocket's red flare, and as you know, something, insert joke, Bahamut, Mega Flare. So, Bahamut has been shooting his Mega Flares for quite a while. I mean, there are many incantations of this, with the titular Mega Flare, of course, but other games had different Bahamuts. I mean, there's like Bahamut Zero, Neo Bahamut. I mean, honestly, the list goes on, and with each one of these new Bahamuts, they get crazier and crazier. Just to show you, here are a few of my favorites. So this one might be a little divisive, but some of you might agree with me. I bet you didn't think I was gonna have 2 turn-based RPGs on this list, but hey, what is more popular on Earth than the Pokemon franchise? Nothing. The answer is absolutely nothing. It's actually the most profitable IP in history. But Wolf, you may ask, Pokemon is a kid-friendly game about raising cute animals and battling to be the very best. Well, someone who asked that dumbass question has obviously never gone through the optional power plant dungeon. In that dungeon, there are many Voltorbs and Electrodes, and right when you think you're gonna win, boom, explosion. The attack actually happens when you almost have them beaten. Having them make their suicide pact with you is extremely frustrating. However, sometimes they just like to open with it, because, fuck you, that's why. I mean, hey, I know Voltorb and Electrode aren't the only Pokemon who use self-destruct and explosion. Looking at you, Geodude. But, I mean, come on. This is who you associate with those moves. I mean, hell, they literally made explosion the whole personality of Voltorb or Electrode in Pokemon Snap. I mean, that's all he does. He just blows up. But hey, I don't know. What do you think? Does Voltorb or Electrode make the cut? I personally think so, and guess what? This is my list. So what are you gonna do about it? We're coming down to the nitty gritty here, and I'll tell you what. The next 2 have a very soft spot in my heart, and it's why they are, to me, the top 2. But the penultimate, the runner-up to number 1, number 2, some would call it, has to be Halo 1. Look, man, Halo is freaking sick. The tank is boss. The rocket launcher is aces. The secret unlockable scarab gun from Halo 2 probably honestly should have made the list, but it didn't. Why? Because Halo 1 is broken. No, I'm not talking about that handgun that can literally kill a friggin' plane. I'm talking about the grenades, which set off chain reactions that, quite frankly, make this game hilarious. How many times have you been playing co-op just to have your partner die kind of near you, and some elite hurl a grenade that's near-ish, maybe, not close enough to kill you, but only to have your dead partner's grenades go off and send you firsthand into space. Yeah, I swear, this happens so much in Legendary, it is pretty much just madness. Here's a little montage of some of the craziness that I have experienced in this game. So if you've watched my channel for a while, you might have seen this one coming, but if you haven't, or you've never heard of the series, whoo, are you in for a surprise? Okay, I had to end this with one of my favorite game series literally ever. I have talked about EDF many times on the channel, but you know, before I went into this, it was super hard to choose the best explosion. I mean, these games have one thing going for it, and that is blowing everything up. I mean, every game that has gone on in the series has gotten more and more wild. I mean, you got missiles, you got bombs, you got rockets, you got airstrikes, you got lasers from space. Hell, there's even like a new tank, this massive tank in the newer games that literally has a gun called the Requiem Cannon. I mean, come on. Honestly though, the best explosions from EDF come from just the madness of the end game guns. And I'll tell you what, one gun that almost made this list had to have been the Stampede. It's like this grenade launcher that launches just a spider's web of grenades. It's the only way I can explain it. But in this case, I had to give it to the OG, the king, the Genocide Gun. The Genocide Gun is a quote-unquote rocket launcher, in the classification anyway, but in reality it is a shoulder-mounted death machine with a 1,000 meter blast radius and 1 million damage per shot. Oh, and if that's not like good enough, it reloads in definitely like less than 5 seconds. Now, there is an absolute reason why this gun is the reward for beating the game on the hardest difficulty, but oh lord is it awesome. There is nothing like shooting this like beam of lightning off into the distance and seeing nothing but a white light and ant corpses flying into space. I mean, this is, the coolest game for explosions, the EDF series, but in all reality, the Genocide Gun has to be the coolest video game explosion ever. And the cool thing is you have direct control over it. It's not a cinematic, it's not a set piece where you arm a bomb and run away and that's the end of the level. This is a gun that you can take into any level. Be that a good or a bad idea is up to you. I mean, you can take it underground and shoot it and instantly die, but you know what? That's your choice. And you know what? This has been my choice for my favorite explosive weapon and just explosion in general in all of video games. And hey man, that is it for me, but what about you? I need to know what explosions you are into, because I tell you, a list like this could like conceivably be infinite, right? I mean, not every, but almost every game has some explosions. That said, I'd like to know what you think down below about my choices and some of your own. Maybe something really just glaring that I forgot to put in this video. But hey, if nothing else, have a happy 4th. And that's going to do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. That would be really cool. Look at all the stuff I'm doing with my hand. But as always, my friends, take it easy.